champ is here.
We will definitely not shut up and dribble.
The champ is here. I must be the greatest. The champ is here.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people.
The champ is here.
I will not lose.
I'm a bad man. I shook up the world.
Yes, welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with we. My name is EJ, and I got my man.
MH.
Yes, he is the DB of the show, and we are Black in Sports, giving a voice to the culture that won't shut up and dribble. And here today, we'll bring you back inside the locker room, and we talk about topics in and around the game. MH, you ready to do this?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. So the energy is here, man. People are getting excited. There's been early predictions, and there's been steps that have been taken. But the momentum is coming, and the NBA is now hot and heavy talking about expansion. So much so that they're going to have a vote next week, and I believe it's the 24th.
Yeah, that's what I saw. Yep.
Yeah. So, and the vote is really like the major, or I think what they said is the official start of getting that ball rolling and figuring out if they want to do it, how they're going to do it, and then just I guess the stages about it, man. And we're just going to, jump into it and talk about what that means. And of course, we have a really, really strong focus on the team's announcement in one area, but it's going to be interesting to see both teams, man. So with the vote, man, what's your first thought, man? You think it's going through, or how do you feel about the vote next week?
I think it's going to be pretty interesting. I think the last time the NBA expanded was right around that 96 time frame, if I'm correct, with the Toronto Raptors and the then Vancouver Grizzlies. And I remember the excitement of that, especially around Toronto with Isaiah Thomas really being one of the founding fathers, so to speak, of that franchise. And and then they had the cool jerseys and all those type of things. I definitely remember growing up. And then, with Las Vegas being one of the rumored cities that the expansion would happen in, and the success of the Golden Knights and the Aces doing very well basketball wise, and just the history of basketball from the Running Rebels to Summer League to everything that happens really in Vegas around basketball. I think it would be outstanding, and obviously excited. I know there's a lot of different opinions about it, but from that standpoint of being someone that lives in Vegas for almost a decade, I think it would be exciting for the city.
No, absolutely.
At least for Vegas part.
Absolutely, for Vegas part, right?
Right.
And I mean, I think just, and giving some love to Seattle before we make it an all Vegas show is, right. I mean, they're historical, right? Like, the Sonics were there. They built a fan base with what they did, and in the NFL as far as a sports team or sports city. Introduced the women's league coming out there. And so there's just a lot of momentum, and the fans are ready for the team to come back. So they have a base there, but I agree with you with just kind of what we've done in the last couple of years and the explosion of sports here in the city, and what we're stamping ourselves as a sports capital of the world. Let's bring that basketball here and take that rightful crown. It's going to be interesting, right? Because at the end of the day, we are talking about money, right? We are the sports business podcast, award-winning sports business podcast. But it's about money, right? And then, greed, that green-eyed monster kind of comes into play when you're talking about these votes. And it seems small, but those owners are kind of twitching a little bit because that pie gets split by 30 to 32.
Yeah, no, and I was joking with some folks about this. I think the owners are resourceful, to say the least, and so
that's a good
if it does split the pot, they'll figure out a way to make it back. Whether that we playing 95 games instead of 82, whatever the case may be, they're going to figure out a way to get their money, which is respectable. But yeah, that is interesting. So how many teams are in the association? I feel like I get this mixed up. Is there 30?
Yep, it's 30
teams in the association.
And it would move to the 32. So
yeah.
And just jumping around, I mean, I was going to go to the flow, but this brings up someone saying, do we have enough room for 32, right? should we drop 2 bad teams to keep it 30? But that'll be the kind of like the conversation where people go back and forth, wondering if we have enough talent. And I mean, I guess I'll start with that. Do you believe we have enough talent out there to field 32 teams and make it competitive? Because that's one of the kind of knocks on the NBA currently is like some divisions and some teams are weaker than others.
Yeah, to me, I think that goes back to the length of the season more than the pure talent that's in the pool. I think the NBA does a really great job of. I think their pool is global, right? And so we're not talking about just the United States athletes or Canada athletes, or just let's call it the Americas athletes. We're talking about a real global sport where you can argue the top 5 to 10 most notable players in the NBA are, across the pond, so to speak. So I don't know if talent is, I hear that argument. I don't know if adding 2 teams, weakens the pool even more. I think there's other factors that go into that, like, length of the season. I think NBA careers are I think longer than, let's call it, NFL careers, right? And so who's taking up slot? I mean, LeBron's had a slot. He's all-time great, but he's had a roster spot for 24 years, right? I mean, that's a crazy cycle to think about it. And, and we could just talk about some of the other athletes that are role players that are 10 to 13 years in the league. You know what I mean? That's a long career, right? That, you could be refreshing with different talent.
I agree with you on that, man.
And I think that goes more into, there's some old heads that maybe be there a little too young. And then you probably get some little young guys at the same time because of, you only need 1 year out of high school that maybe not be ready for the NBA. But I don't think it's a talent thing. I just think it's just a lot of variables that go into it.
I agree, man. I don't think it's a talent thing as well. I do maybe wonder about the quality of who you're bringing in, right? Because a lot of our international players, like, there's a talk about how old is Luka, right? Like, is he a regular, 29 or 39, whatever he is, or because he's been a professional since he was 12. And so that just kind of changes the games when you look at a lot of our international players to, like you just mentioned, you could be one and done or right out of high school going to the league. And just understanding like what that development of our players that are coming from the Americas that are coming that aren't having as much time in a system, maybe learning foundations of the games and things like that. So I think I agree with you. There's a pool. It's just maybe kind of how we groom that pool and then how long people are taking spots, man. So all in all, it's definitely interesting. I think they have the space though.
I think so too. And like I said, there's a lot of factors. You can even talk about how the contracts are divvy out in the NBA versus other sports where it's fully guaranteed, and there's a lot of layers to it. And I don't think talent itself is just the case. I think that you could have made that argument when it was just the Will Chamberlain days, right? So I don't think it's talent thing in my opinion.
100%. So it all comes back to the money, right? So evaluations already are saying that with these teams, those franchises are looking to go anywhere between, was it like 6 billion and 10 billion for a new team? You got that on you, man? Was that pocket change? Don't take my pocket money.
No, but it's really interesting, and we're not going to get too far into different regions, but I just the folks that have access to those ownership rooms, that might be pocket change to them if they allow certain regions or certain individuals to be into that room. I don't think money is an issue there at all. But that's a bigger discussion about who do they let into those clubs, so to speak.
So let's talk about it, right? There's been talks. And so there's certain people, and we're not going to go into all the speculations, but, maybe just what we've heard. Because like I said, a lot of this is just, it's been brewing for some time. The cities are excited. We're definitely ready. So what have you heard about, ownership groups or people in the room, or maybe some people you're surprised that you haven't heard more about? Anyone? What's your thoughts on who you've heard?
Um, how can I say it? I mean, I've heard of some names that have very good Vegas strong ties. I put it that way.
Right.
That could be interested in the mix. At least here in Vegas, I haven't heard, to be 100% honest, much in Seattle. I'm a little bit more plugged in here, but um, that's what I've heard for what I can say, I guess, for sure.
Okay. No names. You're just gonna say you've heard some things. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not gonna throw any names.
Well, I'll do it. So, I mean, it's the people that you hear that make the most. What do you want to say it? Kind of branding or face of the league type names, and then it's the people that we really don't know,
Yeah,
and then kind of hear them like, that makes sense, right? So
yeah,
the ones I've heard, right, are the people that have ties, and people don't know they have as many ties, right? So you Shaq, right? I
hmm
think Shaq's going on, record saying that he would be interested or want to be an owner. And so Shaq has various businesses here. He's developing a lot of stuff here as far as his foundation. He does events here with his foundation. So that's one, right? Then you of course hear LeBron. LeBron's been talking about that, wiggling his way, into that conversation for some time. And then Magic. So all three of those from a perspective, Magic may have the money.
May.
Magic may have the money. Like, I mean, he's gonna have to bring some friends, but all of those names, right, are really figureheads or people that would lead the charge, from an investment group standing. And it's kind of it makes you wonder who they would kind of let attach or what group would try to attach to them, right? Because some group may be like, no, I don't want that name. I don't need that name.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see because Magic's done it before, right? Like he's attached himself to some really big names and big groups, and he's won a couple of championships with his ownership group. So those are just some of those like the famous names that we hear. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that.
Yeah, I think there's other names that are probably behind the scenes that we don't know as much. That again, like you said, when that all develops, if and when it happens, you'll be, oh, okay, that totally makes sense. So,
and one that's not commonly said is Spencer Haywood, right?
Mhm.
So Spencer lives here in town in Vegas, but Spencer has a unique, kind of duality, right? So it could be the Vegas team or it could be the Seattle Seahawks, right? Sonics, excuse me.
Yeah,
Because he has that relationship in those days with them as well. So those are kind of like the figureheads. But then the sleeper is people kind of speculated or wondered, like in the sports world, what the Adelsons were doing, right?
Mhm.
Because they're now in basketball with the ownership of the Dallas Mavericks. And
yeah,
why they did that, was it to get some leverage or knowledge or, what have you. But the Adelson group is definitely one of those kind of names that not probably spoke about a lot, but we've seen, just the Massives kind of seen some of their business dealings in and around sports, and their relationship with Mark Cuban, and if that comes back. And so those are the interesting ones. But the ones that really dig out once you start hearing like the XY foundership group or
yeah,
the three first names group that comes up, it comes out of nowhere and makes a bid for it. So that all will be interesting.
yeah. No, and then this might go into a different subject, but I'm kind of glad that the expansion thing is at least a conversation that's happened, more so than I hear of like relocation, because that is very tough on the accepted market and the market that said franchise is leaving on. And so, I mean, I think you would think that you're in a pretty good from a business standpoint, you're in pretty good shape as an organization or as a vessel or whatever, association, whatever you want to call it, if you're talking about expansion. So for all the negative press the NBA tends to get about length of the season and people trying hard, I would think that they are flowing pretty well if this is up for vote expansion. So shout out to
Absolutely,
them.
for sure. And the Seattle, right? Like you would think it would be kind of same in that Microsoft group, right? Or tech people. There's a lot of tech money around there that looks that they'll be a part of it.
Okay.
Bezos is up there looking to buy Seattle, so maybe if he doesn't get the football team, he'll get the basketball, or maybe he'll get all of them. But those couple of names have kind of been wrapping around, that area. So let's move forward. Next week happens, and the vote goes to they only need that 75% of the teams to say yay to move forward. So it has to be like a real big push of people not to want to move forward.
Mhm.
One of the first things that pops up or that you may think of is the alignment, right? So you're going to move some teams to make it, because both of these teams will essentially be West Coast teams, right?
Mhm.
So you are Adam now. Who are the team? What teams do you move? And
I would think naturally, Memphis and New Orleans.
Okay, not Minnesota. Would you think about Minnesota?
I guess you could, yeah.
So those are the three teams, right? So you got to pick two out of the three. You know what I mean? To make that move. So it's going to be interesting to see.
I think.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't know. I just think. I mean, Minnesota could be definitely interesting, considering Chicago and the Pacers are all Eastern Conference team, and that's right in that region. So yeah, that makes sense too. But I think like New Orleans, I think that's probably like a given, in my opinion, just because of city, proximity to the other Central and Eastern time zone teams.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one is more of a given, but yeah, Minnesota could be something too as well.
So, it's looked like there's too many positives, right? Like, so T-Mac was definitely one of the people that kind of produced that, question of if the talent, would be enough for these teams to move over. Any other thing that you would see, just from your perspective, or is it all just pluses in your eyes to get the two teams?
No, I mean, you got to take, T-Mac is an all-time great, and he has special insight into what he's watching, and I feel like now he's on TV, with the broadcast leaving a little more. So I would think he has knowledge. He just doesn't say that just to say it, right?
Right.
And so he maybe truly believes. But my only argument to T-Mac would be is, you kind of came in the same situation. One could have said, you're not talented enough to play. I mean, I don't think T-Mac even played his first couple of years, or maybe at least the first year in Toronto. Really, he barely played, right? So
all the injuries, he's
right.
Yeah,
and I just think it just comes to opportunity, right? You're just giving some more athletes a little bit more opportunity times, and then we'll see. But maybe you're right. I mean, my brother that's a coach is also like, he doesn't believe that there's enough talent across the National Basketball Association. He said there's probably 4 or 5 teams right now, to your point earlier in our conversation about that they can't even compete now, and you might water that down to 6 to 7 to 8 teams that can't really compete. Yeah, then maybe that's not good for the product too. So I guess that would be the negatives.
Well, you would think that it opens up more opportunity, right? So something's not calculating, right? If they're saying that there's not enough talent, because like we've already talked about the international perspective, the college perspective. I mean, shout out to Howard, and making the March Madness and winning their first round. So how does that impact HBCUs? Are we looking, at a wider net for talent? And I just kind of don't see how, I don't see how lack of talent is the thing that we're worried about when we have all of these leagues, right? We have international play. We have, all the different kind of one and done leagues. We have Big Three. We have all these other leagues, and I know Big Three is a different model, but we have enough talent to do all of these things. There's certain people that are out of the league for, whatever reasons, not fitting that mold and things like that. But it just seems like there's abundance of talent that maybe just can't fit into the rigors of, the corporate structure of the league. But I just don't think that the lack of talent is the one thing. And I just think it provides, especially when you talk about your HBCUs and your smaller programs, it seems like it would just provide more talent, and maybe the NBA working in resources to develop that talent. if their college structure or G League structure is not working.
Yeah, and it maybe T-Mac is speaking towards like that vet that I would probably I mentioned earlier. Like I see the Mavericks game in the background. Like what's my guy's name used to play for the Bucks? Like a Chris Middleton. Like is he a rotational player in an expanded league, or is that more spots for young athletes, or is that more spots for vets? I don't know if that's the equation in the talent. And as Shaq would say, T-Mac has G14 classification, so he can make that argument. I'm just the dude that watches the game, so I don't know.
Absolutely. Well, it's definitely interesting, man. On the front office, man, we didn't really talk about that. And I know that's a ways away, right? Like as far as timeline, maybe we'll get into a little bit of timeline after this. But it's going to be exciting to see what head coaching opportunities, come about, right? Like, is it recycling new people? Is it updating that pipeline, right? So it's going to be exciting to see how that develops. Who's the GM, right? What, who's going to get like breaks into this new market with these new teams and just kind of explode and give other people opportunities from the front office perspective.
Yeah, and I'm especially interested in the NBA. One of the cool things about the NBA to me is like the partner deals on like the jerseys, and so yeah, is that different business opportunities for unique partners to come in and be a part. So
well, it can't be too unique because Magic City got shut down, but that's a whole other situation. But no, that
but never mind, I ain't gonna say that.
Nope. See, I hate when you do that. You have to do it after.
I don't know. It just depends on if Magic City is producing FedEx money, then the NBA is you have a Magic City lemon pepper wing on somebody's jersey. If that's what it is, I don't know. I truly believe that.
Well, I mean, Vegas can host a lot of those opportunities, right? Like so would you see one of our establishments on a jersey patch, right? And then what does that jersey patch come from, right? Because a lot of when you see sponsorships from that standpoint, they're usually corporations or entities that are either in or heavily involved in that, right? So like the Dodgers really announced that there's talks that they're going to have a company out of Japan have the field naming rights, and you're like, oh well, why? And it's like, well, their biggest star plays for them, right? So he has that international tie. So that's how they make it work, right? Like they're interested. He's a big phenom, and then like, hey, we'll give you our dollars, right? So it's just gonna. That's a great point. It's going to open up what these jersey patches, the arena. So that's the next part, right? What's the arena?
Shout out to the administration because I can already hear some stuff. So come on, I can already hear it. But
that'll be on the live. So please join us this month for the live show. But no, the arena situation, right? We having so much development come, or do we use what we already have standing? And the league is a big proponent in like having the league be a part of that ownership. So that's where is Oakview Group back in the mix or still a candidate? Are we playing in T-Mobile, or is this group that comes up with it when it's like, no, we want to lock, share, and own our own venue? So this is going to be some things moving here over all of this stuff in the next several months.
Yeah, I mean, whenever gets the Knicks closer to a championship, I'm all for.
There you go. Well, so the timeline is really moved up. So the votes next, is going to be March 24th, and then that's the official vote for them to be like, okay, we're ready to go. Let's start the momentum. And then once they do that vote, long as it's passes the threshold, then they'll start opening the window for people that want to pitch for the teams. And, that will take several or whatever the criteria is for them to be that. So that'll be interesting. But just early reports say the team could play as early as the 26-27 season, which will be ridiculously early.
Yeah, I can't see that, but
I don't either. I see it more as the 28, 29 season.
29.
But money makes things happen though. So, so if someone's having an inkling, shout out to the WNBA for getting their stuff together. Money makes things kind of happen, right? When you press against the wall, and it just depends on where these arenas and things like that. Because Seattle already has an arena. If they decide to kind of play in that arena, we have something that can hold basketball. So it decides if people want to, be housed there until they build their own and things like that. So it's not unfathomable.
No, it's not. And then I would think that they would have to go back to the CBA because and my homeboy said it the best, like the restriction of A-level player mobility, I don't think it's helped, I should say, the NBA when it comes to just the narrative that's kind of built around the league. So by bringing in 2 new franchises and maybe as early as 2026, 27, I think you get back to the negotiation table and maybe you bring something that's a little bit more player mobility friendly, and maybe that brings a new excitement to the game too. So,
well, I'm sure there's clauses in there, right? Because they knew this was coming, right? When they were delaying and negotiating, so there has to be clauses, so it's not an overall amendment of the full CBA.
For sure,
but he speaks to some of these clauses, and then the expansion draft, right? Like those things are always interesting on how talent gets moved, how the draft selection works. So it'll definitely be interesting to see kind of like how all these things unfold. But long story short, though, by the end of this year, we will know if there are 2 teams. We will know who the ownership groups are because the NBA seems to want to move fast. And I originally thought like the announcement was going to happen around Summer League this year that is held in Vegas. I think we're going to have like some fanfare or some kind of announcement that they're going to use that time frame to kind of push or reveal or, kind of make mention of what they want to do, especially if they're voting as early as, as they are in this timeline.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then, just and anyway, it's good excitement for the playoffs that started. And then once you wrap up the playoffs and get into draft and like you said, Summer League, it's all NBA focused anyway. So it seems like a good time. So.
All right, man. So closing this out, man, let's have a little fun, man. So
yeah, you putting your name in the hat for the team name?
That's exactly where I'm going. I love to sync like that, man. So what are your early thoughts for a team name, man? I'm gonna tell you what I don't want, but what are
okay? Go ahead. Go ahead. What you don't want, because I haven't really thought about a team name. And we just talk about Vegas, or we talking about both names? Because Seattle's already the SuperSonics. Is that already done?
I would hope so. Like, why? It's like one of those. What they say: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Until there has to be some reason that you don't call him that, right? There has to be some, like that he's got a body or something. We just found out about that. Is why we, we do that. So their team, I believe, is set. Our team, it's so tough sometimes when they attempt to make it like of where we are, right? Like so. I'm cool. I don't need the gamblers. I don't need jackpots. I don't need aces too, right? Because with the cards, like, no, I don't. The Stars. If another basketball team comes to Las Vegas called the Stars, we've had, I think, 3. Well, first of all, the Aces were the Stars when they were in San Antonio before they moved here. So I'm glad they changed the name. But there's been 3 other teams, whether they've been G League or USL or whatever other teams, we've had other stars here. So no stars, please. I don't know. I don't know. I just I want to get creative, but then I want to just like keep it simple too. So the desert themes, right? Like I don't need snakes. Yeah. I don't need bighorn sheep or whatever. I don't need the turtles.
The desert dogs is kind of hard. I still haven't been to a game, but man, that name go hard to me. I don't know why.
And that's the thing, right? But that's a stretch too. Like like, well, what are desert dogs? It's like it's kind of a coyote. It's kind of
that go hard. I done seen a few desert dogs out here in the Southwest.
Hey, listen, definitely during COVID, boy, them boys was out in the front yards. I'm telling you.
I done seen a few.
So especially on the golf course, man. Some of these golf courses, desert dogs be out there. So any kind of inkling, like that's going to be fun to where if they allow, like a race or a push for the fans to get involved with it. But that part of it, I'm really excited for as they start bringing the teams and putting the stuff together, because I've been a part of that with the Raiders, and we saw it with the Golden Knights when they did the ticket drive, and now we're seeing it with the Aces. So that's the exciting part. So I'm ready for it to get here. But yeah, any idea on the name? What's your thought?
I would just like to kind of, and then I think the athletics kind of messed this up, but I like the color schemes to be just kind of similar. Like, how Pittsburgh has the Pirates, the Steelers, who am I forgetting here?
You're forgetting
the Pirates, the
Penguins.
Yeah. And they're all kind of, I think I really think that's really cool. That's like cool. And the Athletics kind of got different color scheme, but at least even the Golden Knights have like what's they call it? The Silver Knights is like their the G League, so to speak. So, and then the Aces are silver and black, and obviously the Raiders are silver and black. So I think it'd be really cool. We can kind of
Desert Dogs are silver and black too. It's like everybody.
That's why, the A's got to change their stuff up, but. I just like I don't know. I think that's real cool. I think that's one of the coolest parts of from what I know of Pittsburgh is all the schools.
A great American football team. Yeah, Steelers.
Yeah. It's all the same color scheme. So let's stick to the color scheme.
Well,
I don't have any names though. I don't have any names.
As long as we put that in the comment card, I like that idea, right? Like it needs to have some semblance, a black, silver. You know what I mean? Whatever little highlight maybe they want to put in it. You
can toss a little red in there. I know the Aces always, come. Yeah, just toss that. But you
got to stay with the core colors, right?
Yeah, stay with the core. I like that.
I love it, man. Well, anything else for the people?
Nah, man, should be interesting. Should be really interesting.
We'll definitely follow up on this, man. We're excited. I can't wait for that announcement and how it all kind of develops. Definitely want the positive stuff to happen. We'll probably hear some things that, aren't the greatest, but all in all, I think it's a win for the city. I think it's a win for the people, the growth of where we're attempting to go as a city. And then just people that want to work in and around sports. I think it's just going to be exciting. So fingers crossed, and definitely be a live topic, man.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
I'm sure we can. I'm sure Gene already knows what the vote's going to happen, what the name of the team is, and who owns the team.
Absolutely.
Shout out Gene. Shit, Gene might even be on the shoot group for all we know.
Part of some consulting that he's doing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Love it, man. Well, hey, as always, thank you all for listening, man. It was definitely something we wanted to need to talk about, especially happening in the city and just happening in sports all the way around. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you enjoyed the show, please share it. And please, we're definitely asking people. Those numbers are going up, so we love the support. So keep following, subscribe to Black and Sports everywhere on IG, Facebook. Follow our YouTube page as well, and just remember, seeing is believing. So that's why visual representation matters. And as we always say, please stay safe, practice gratitude, and know we're rooting for you.
Screaming, all us blacks got is sports and entertainment until we even.
Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Look. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spent about 2 racks on handmade new rags. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap.